Synthaholics, the Star Trek podcast.
Welcome to Synthaholics. This is Aaron O'Brien, your host. Thank you so much for downloading our podcast. Today I have our returning guest once again, Robbie Palmer from the Nerdynomicon.
And guess what? I'm not naked. I'm not naked this time.
Oh man!
I put on pants for this episode. It's the absence of Duncan that's really done.
Pants for everybody.
Pants for days over here. I'm not actually wearing pants, but I'm not naked. I'm wearing socks.
Oh, there you go. See, yeah, that's all you need. So we are going to talk, Robbie, since this is your one of the joys of your life is the Mandalorian. We're going to get through. Yeah, we're going to get through episodes 4 through 6, and just to have a nice talk about what's going on with that. But Robbie, real quick, I know Star Trek's not your jam. Not that you hate it; it's just not what you do all the time. It's not what you breathe. There's a couple news articles I just wanted to bring up because I thought it was important.
Full disclosure, I'm like you said, it's not my jam, but I don't really believe the nature of hating anything that pop culture brings. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Twilight movies. I don't even really hate them because somebody somewhere put the time, effort, blood, sweat, tears into creating something. And even if you're not a fan of it, I do think that things should be celebrated, at least for the merits that they're able to bring to the table.
I agree.
I don't hate Star Trek by any stretch of the imagination. As a matter of fact, depending on my mood, I rather enjoy it. I think that it has a lot to say, but yeah, it's definitely not. It's not my particular fandom, but it's still something that I watch, I consume, and I do enjoy from time to time.
Yeah, and if you don't know, I mean, Robbie's been on the show multiple times. We have talked Star Trek together.
Yeah, we have.
We've talked. One of my favorite episodes that you and I and Dave did was Dune.
Oh, that was a good episode.
I love that episode.
Really good.
That's the David Lynch Dune from whatever 1986 or whatever it was.
Sounds about right.
And we also talked about Event Horizon. And what else did we talk about? We talked about something else.
We've talked about Star Wars too.
Oh yeah, Star Wars. Multiple times we've talked about Star Wars.
We've talked about Star Wars. Yeah.
And you were 2 shows ago. We talked about the very beginning of Mandalorian. So
yes.
So we wanted to kind of keep the thread going since obviously, like as we said before, you're a big fan of Boba Fett. You're a big fan of Star Wars. I couldn't think of anyone better to come in and like ruminate and enjoy about this fantastic show that's been given to us.
Motherfucker, you gonna make me blush. Goddamn.
But real quick on the Star Trek news, we have the information that Michael Chabon, who was a showrunner for Star Trek Picard, seems like he's no longer will be showrunner during season 2. So he kind of was brought in during season 1. It seemed like Alex Kurtzman, who was starting, it seemed like Alex Kurtzman's got the wheel going for Star Trek Picard. He got Patrick Stewart interested in joining, but something happened there that Kurtzman wasn't allowed to continue as the showrunner. He's still like involved, like producing, but Michael Chabon came in and he's a writer. I'm not familiar with his writing. Apparently, people say he's a very good writer. I'm not too certain, but.
I don't really know him by name, but, there's a very good possibility I've seen something that he's created.
Yeah, I would probably say so. And but the thing is apparently he will not be doing Star Trek Picard Season 2. So The issue, Robbie, is that me and Dave keep running into is they keep changing showrunners. They keep changing, the people who are running the overarching thing. And then you get somebody else and they're going to change the flavor on you. So you like, maybe you like, strawberry ice cream. They're changing it to chocolate all of a sudden, and it's like people get confused. So, it's disjointed, and I think it leads to a lot of confusion and just people scratching their heads.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's hard for me to put into words how I feel about this, especially when you get a TV show started. TV shows are a little bit different than movies, okay? They require a deeper investment, a longer attention span, and I think that a lot of networks in general and a lot of basically networks in general, a lot of studio heads have in their head that to make a good intellectual property now, they have to use the model that was established with the creation of the Harry Potter films and popularized with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And what by that I mean different feels, different tones, and different approaches to the subject matter at hand. See, Harry Potter originally, when the films were created, when the dotted line was signed upon by J.K. Rowling, originally every film was going to be directed by the same person, the guy that directed 1 and 2. But he decided after a while, you know what, I don't really want to do this for the next 10, 12 years. I don't want my whole life to be dedicated to Harry Potter. And, the actors all signed on. So, the movies are going to grow with them, but all of the films were originally going to have the same aesthetic eye. So when he decided that he didn't really want to do it in that way anymore, they were kind of left with, well, what are we going to do? So enter Chris Columbus and enter other directors. That's why you see The Prisoner of Azkaban with such a different aesthetic look and a different way of presenting the subject matter from the book onto the screen. It's then popularized by the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where you've got various types of tones with the Captain America movies, ranging from a historical drama to a political espionage thriller to essentially an Avengers movie, which is a superhero popcorn schlock film. And I'm not dissing it. I'm not making fun of it. I was right there crying with everybody else, okay? I'm saying I love it, but I'm saying that that's what it is. Thor Ragnarok is not the same movie as Iron Man 2, period. Yeah, right, but yet they exist in the same cinematic universe.
Sure.
Now, the reason that I'm bringing these into it is you're seeing this with a lot. Star Trek is seemingly notorious for this lately, but you're seeing this a lot even in Star Wars, to bring us back around with what the subject matter of the episode is. You're seeing people getting fired off the film and then somebody going in and, revamping what they're doing. You could point to the same thing with Suicide Squad, but I don't like to because I don't really want to give any attention to Suicide Squad. It was it was not good. It was fun when I first watched it, and I get angrier every subsequent viewing. Don't ask me how many I've subjected myself to.
Well, I mean, just
I grew up Catholic. I believe in self-punishment.
We know you do. So
I use my own tears as lube sometimes.
No, but so you, if anybody, I've mentioned this multiple times during the podcast, but if you have a chance, check out Robbie's look back at season 1 of Star Trek Discovery. I think he did a wonderful job.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you did a very wonderful job of recapping and your thoughts on it. But you also realize after watching that season 1 that showrunners had changed during those points. And it started off, Star Trek Discovery was by Brian Fuller from American Gods. And then I think Brian Fuller
crushed it with American Gods.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think he left Discovery because he was like, "Oh fuck, I got American Gods, and this thing is the fucking jam. Fuck Star Trek."
Fucking hey, right, dude. When you got a Jinn banging another dude, man, you're gonna jump on that. I don't care who you are. All right, Gillian Anderson as Ziggy Stardust, dude. All over my face, neck, and chest, all day,
cool.
every day.
That's pretty cool. It was pretty cool,
right?
She was amazing. But my point being is that, Star Trek so far, run under CBS All Access, its showrunners have been just a traffic jam mess. And I worry about what's going to happen with... I haven't even... Star Trek Picard hasn't even premiered yet. We got a couple more weeks before that happens. So, I get nervous. So... I think the whole thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to see how much Michael Chabon, what he did for Star Trek Picard when we see it, and then see if there's a tone by season 2 and if it's noticeable.
I agree. I completely agree. Look, Star Trek Discovery season 1, I felt like in a narrative structure could get away with it once you realized the overall story that they were trying to tell. And I feel like that... Personally, the way I viewed it, I feel like they duped us by saying it's about the Klingon War when it wasn't. And then they try to take it over to, the
Mirror Universe.
The Mirror Universe. And they duped us again because it wasn't actually about that either. The entire season is a very personal story about Michael. Yeah. That was the story that they were telling, and everything else was peripheral because that's the way she saw everything else. Granted, I have not continued on with the series. Mostly due to time, to be honest with you. There's so much media out there to consume, and there's only so many hours in the day to talk about it. I mean, right. I'm trying to bounce back from bronchitis and walking pneumonia right now. That's why I kind of sound like a sexy version of Joey Lauren Adams with a dick. Okay.
That's a good visual image.
You're welcome. But there's still so much to talk about, and there's so much to celebrate and discuss here.
Yes, but my point being this, Robbie, and this is me and Dave have been saying since day one. Mm-hmm. Since you have shows like Game of Thrones and American Gods and whatever else out there that I just recently got into Watchmen. Holy fuck, that's a whole nother level of amazing.
I have a lot to say about that show. I think maybe you need to jump on. I think you either need to come on Nerdynomicon or we need to branch into that on this show.
We can do that.
I have a lot to say about that show.
Stay tuned for that. So
I'm talking 2 or 3 episodes worth, man. There is a lot to discuss about that.
Oh, absolutely. It's an amazing show. Mm-hmm. And I'm only a couple episodes in. My point being is that when you have Star Trek Discovery and you're the flagship of CBS All Access, you have to be firing into the stratosphere right off the bat. You can't stumble.
Yep.
You can. I mean, the fact that you were like, you know what? I like Star Trek Discovery, but I ain't gonna go back and watch season 2 right away because I got X, Y, and Z to watch, and those
Amazon
are important.
Prime's got The Boys, man. I got to watch The Boys. All right, I don't got time for no Discovery season 2 right now.
I know, and that's my point. Literally, that's the point. My point purely being is that. You need to be able to say, I am jumping onto that right away, and they're not doing that right now, and that's where they're falling down. They have longtime fans, like such as me and Dave, but like a guy like you who was like, casual watcher, not your favorite, but they should have been like hooking you in right away and pulling you in and making you like, I gotta get to next season. I gotta see what happens. It's not happening, man.
No, it's not. I feel like they succeeded in telling the story that I feel that they were out to tell with season 1. Mm-hmm. But how do you translate that going forward?
Yeah.
And, the firing of the showrunner mid-season, it works. You absolutely felt it. You absolutely felt it. But here's the thing. You can get away with that if you're telling a certain type of story. Not every season of the show is the same story. Not every iteration of an intellectual property is going to be able to be told the same way. Mm-hmm. Okay? Star Wars, Clone Wars, or Star Wars, the animated series and whatnot, cannot be told the same way as The Mandalorian. Star Trek Discovery Season 1 is not the same type of story as Star Trek Voyager, the entire series. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that you have to have the exact same showrunner for the entirety of the show. All right? But you can feel it. And you can feel when the show turns and takes on a different feel, meaning, message, theme. Any of these. Because now you have a brand new steward that's trying to direct the ship into their vision. And these shows are a collaborative process, and it goes from the top down. So if I were CBS, I would be a little bit more hesitant about doing it mid-season.
Yeah,
I just would. You know,
at least this time it's they're breaking off. They gave them season 1, and then they'll try someone else for season 2.
I'm okay with that. I mean, for all we know, season 1 is going to be all right, not bad, and season 2 is going to be like, dude, what the fuck happened? This is amazing. Buffy's spinoff Angel. Okay, both of them Joss Whedon's intellectual properties. I liked Angel season 1, but season 2 is where the story, the plot, everything really started to go. You know, and yes, it was the same showrunner, but my point is this. You can have a season 1 that is this type of show, and season 2 begins the narrative of what the series is going to be. Mm-hmm. Angel is just the first show that popped into my head, but this you can see this in many iterations throughout pop culture. Mm-hmm. So it is not all doom and gloom. Let's wait and see what happens. Let's see if season 1's any good, first off.
I guess, yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, I can't prejudge it before it even comes out, but I guess we're now, we're on moving into this third season of Discovery now, which, sometime this upcoming 2020. But it's just like it makes you nervous. Like, what's going on with the leadership there?
Of course it does. All I ever ask on my show, and I hope I'm not coming across too preachy, but this is something that I exercise with all of my friends, all of my loved ones, because basically everybody that I surround myself with loves pop culture. I have a friend that's huge into Broadway musicals and Broadway stage performances and whatnot. And the question that I always ask when they try to bring up something new or a change that's being made to something coming out is, have you seen it? Mm-hmm. This one friend that I'm referring to right now, they're constantly saying, oh my God, something to the effect of Mean Girls, the musical. Oh my God, it's absolutely amazing. Have you seen it? Well, no, but I mean, I've heard the soundtrack and people say it's really good, but have you seen it?
Right.
Don't prejudge something.
Right.
Just because everybody loves it doesn't mean that you will. And just because everybody hates it doesn't mean that you will. That was a lesson that I even had further drilled into my brain while watching Star Trek Discovery Season 1, because a lot of people did not like that show. And
you were pretty positive on it.
I was pretty positive on it to a degree, and then I started to fall into the negative because I'm like, this kind of feels like a discombobulated mess. But it wasn't until I had some time to absorb it that I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm watching this right. And it was actually while listening to your show when I think you had Trek Yards on.
Okay.
I believe. Mm-hmm. And the way you guys were discussing Michael Burnham, I'm like, no, I disagree with literally every point that's being brought up here because this is what I'm seeing. And I sat down to write the script that day.
Nice.
So my point is, this does not look good. This really does not, because CBS is looking notorious by doing this. It seems to be happening all over the place. Discovery, it's happened multiple times. It's now happening to, Picard. Let's see what we get first.
Oh, I agree. I'm not. It strikes fear in my heart.
Yeah, well it should, especially being someone who has a fucking show over an intellectual property that you love that much, that you hold that dear. Trust me, I'm nervous about the new versions of Game of Thrones that are coming out, the spin-off shows. Even though one of them is exactly what I wanted. I wanted Fire and Blood. I wanted the reign of the Targaryens. Mm-hmm, Looks like we're getting it. Does not mean I'm not nervous.
Sure, absolutely.
I loved the final season. A lot of people had a lot of problems with it. It actually went in all the directions that I thought it should go, but it was rushed, and it felt like the showrunners phoned it in and didn't care anymore. They gave us 6 episodes where, realistically, as far as subject matter, we needed another 8 or 9 episodes.
I was going to say
another 6 episodes.
At least double it. Yeah.
Yes, because it felt so rushed. So, I mean, I'm right there with you. Right there with you. I'm nervous too because Picard is my favorite captain. If I'm going to be watching Star Trek, I prefer me getting some Picard. But let's slow down, see what's going to happen first. But yeah, be nervous. Just keep an open mind.
Be nervous. Well, 2 other things to be nervous about or hopeful about is that there have been now rumors coming down the pike that there are going to be 2 more Star Trek movies. So Paramount has tapped apparently the TV show Legion creator Noah Hawley to write and direct one of the films.
Be nervous.
Negotiations so far. But there's no idea what this show is going to be about. If it's going to be with the Chris Pine Captain Kirk, or it's going to be something different. We don't know that. And the other one's been speculated that might be the Tarantino version, the Tarantino Trek that we've been talking about, or Pulp Trek.
Be nervous twice.
But there's also rumors that I think he said somewhere that he hasn't been approached them officially yet, and he's kind of backing away from that idea. So hard to say, very, very hard to say about the Tarantino thing. And I've been divided about that because I love Tarantino. And he's just one of those amazing gifts we have in cinema, but he's also, it's like two great tastes. Do you really want to put them together? Right. It could go wonderful or terribly wrong.
Reservoir Dogs in space.
Yes. I mean,
you know what I mean?
It sounds fantastic, but throw Star Trek in the mix and you're like,
is it though?
It could work amazing.
It really could. But for Star Trek, I don't know. But it could be amazing. I was joking when I said, be nervous twice on that one. I was kind of joking about it because Tarantino is a well-known Star Trek fan. Okay. I like it when fanboys get their hands on the intellectual properties that they have grown up loving because they know how to treat them for the most part well as far as their stewardship. The one that I actually am a little bit nervous about is the showrunner from Legion taking one of them. And I'm going to explain why. Have you seen Legion?
I haven't, but I've heard nothing but wonderful things about it. And I actually like the character Legion from Marvel Comics. I just never got a chance to actually watch it.
The reason that you've heard nothing but incredible things about it is because that show is nothing if not incredible. Here's the thing. It is one of the most cerebral, surreal, fucked up superhero shows I've ever seen in my life. And that includes Netflix's The Boys.
That actually makes sense, because the character was pretty much like that anyways.
Exactly. And they do it justice. They do the villain whose name is escaping me right now, Farad, I believe. They do Farad justice. Okay. This show is one of the most cerebral, surreal, interesting, difficult to absorb shows I have ever seen on television. It is, I'm not saying that it's that level as far as good. It's not going to fall into my pantheon of amazing television shows that I will go to my grave praising, like Twin Peaks, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, The Sopranos, Game of Thrones. It's not in that pantheon, but it is one of the most interesting, easy to dissect and rewatch and, extrapolate your thoughts for shows on TV.
Cool.
I love Legion. I'm not sure how a director like that is going to translate over to Star Trek. I realize he was approached about it and turned it down, but can you imagine what would have happened if we lived in a world where David Lynch did take stewardship of Return of the Jedi? Can you imagine what that movie would look like?
I would love to live in that alternate universe, but that would probably ruin Return of the Jedi.
It probably would, man. It probably would.
And I love David Lynch with all my heart, but that's another great taste, two great tastes that really shouldn't go together.
I could not agree with you more. And luckily, he turned down Return of the Jedi to do Dune. Okay, whatever. But I'm glad he did, because Dune is a very interesting, whether you like it or love it, you have to at least appreciate what Dune is.
It's a beautiful looking movie. It's a beautiful looking movie.
It really is.
What's funny?
I don't know what the hell Gurney's doing standing there all over the place. He's always got the sultry smile, and everybody's just like coming and climaxing all over themselves every time he walks on screen. I don't know what's going on.
I messaged you recently that I watched the Lynch's Dune with my son recently, and he was completely disinterested. And I was watching it. I was like, man, because we talked about this when we talked about it on our podcast on Dune, 3 years ago, whenever that was.
Yeah, like 2 or 3.
I grew up with a TV cut that was not Lynch's cut, but there's a whole bunch of extra scenes that you don't get. in the that's added in the TV cut, and I'm just like, dude, like that makes
Does
the movie.
Gurney have a line?
He has way more lines. He has a line where he's like playing his like weird sitar and stuff like that. I mean, there's way more going on there. I'd love to get my hands on a TV cut. I don't know if I can. I bought the Blu-ray of Dune, but I don't know.
And it's not on there?
No, it's not on there.
That's weird.
Yeah. Well,
just to wrap it around, that's my point. Is to me, it feels so much like David Lynch tackling Return of the Jedi. If you give it to Homeboy from Legion, if you give him a Star Trek show, I'm so worried about something like that. It could be the most brilliant piece of Star Trek we have ever seen. I might be sitting there and just, as soon as I leave the theater, I have to sit down and write a script for a Sinful Analysis about it because there's so much to say. It's like, obviously this film was not exactly a Star Trek film. It was actually a metaphor for the Spanish-American Civil War. I don't know. But, yeah. That one makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Just makes me nervous.
All this is just talk so far. Those movies probably won't be seeing them till after 2020. It's probably 2022 at least. Maybe 2021 late. But it's going to be a while.
We deserve a movie before that. We really do.
Well, they were going to do the one, but it fell through with Helmsworth and Pine, but it just didn't work out. You know,
read another script. Write a better script. Write something good. Come on, come on now.
Well, let's get into the meat of our topic. We're talking about The Mandalorian, and we had nothing but glowing reviews for the first three, and I really enjoyed the next three. We started off with the episode 4, the Sanctuary, and we get like it's a planet that's like these people are like fishing blue shrimp.
Yep.
And this is the planet Sorgan, and they basically get raided by these dog men.
They kind of looked a little bit, at least as far as my memory goes, because it's been a while since I've seen it, looked a little bit like the creatures from the Ewok movies, like especially Battle for Endor.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be completely way off with my memory, but they reminded me of those types of creatures.
It could have been. They show them, they raid their town, they kind of just like make a mess of everything, and then, you know, they take off with all their stuff. And then we jump to the Mandalorian. He's with Baby Yoda, and they come down to the same planet. Baby Yoda!
Loving it!
And while they come down this planet, the Sorgan planet is like just a backwater planet. There's no big ports. It's very quiet. He comes across this ex-rebel shock trooper named Cara Dune, and they have a little fight, and we get that cute scene with Baby Yoda drinking his bone broth after they're fighting. And they decide that they aren't going to kill each other, and that but the Mandalorian has to move off because she found this planet first. And so while he's setting up on this, because Mandalorian's, as we know, he's being hunted by the rest of the guild for taking Baby Yoda and keeping it for himself. So while he's getting his ship set to go, these blue shrimp fishermen come and approach him and say, "Hey, these dogmen are trying to take over our town and just wreaking havoc on everything." And he decides, the Mandalorian is like, "Hey, you know, I can help you." And he gets this ex-rebel shock trooper, Cara Dune, to help out. And it's for, like she said, was it for lunch money or something like that? They don't have any money. So anyways, they get to the town, and he finds that I guess it's a widowed mother and with her daughter. And the Mandalorian definitely is like, he's a hard guy to read just because at first he's
wearing a
jumpy.
helmet.
He's wearing a helmet, but he's jumpy and stuff like that. But he seems to have some kind of affection for this mother, which slowly increases over time. But they make a battle plan basically to take on the dogmen. But that's when they go to track them down. They find that they have an ATST. And he's like, this is going to cut through everyone like butter. And they're like,
for the people that don't know the model numbers, it's the bipedal walkers originally seen in The Empire Strikes Back. You got the quadrupeds, which were the AT-ATs or the AT-ATs. The ATSTs are the bipedal ones.
Yeah, and it's funny. My son watched it with me, and he was like, that thing looks really creepy. I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
Isn't it? So the villagers don't want to leave because the Mandalorian's like, you got to go. You ain't gonna. It's not gonna work out well for you. And they're like, but these fishermen, villagers, like, no, we can't leave. This is our land. We can't leave this land. I've krilled these krills for too long. And so they've decided that they're going to stay, and then Mandalorian and Cara Dune decides they're going to train everybody on how to fight. So we have basically the story of three amigos set on another planet.
Yep.
And so they make all these fortifications. They dig a spot for the ATST to fall into this watery spot, so they could trap it, and then they run into the encampment of the dogmen, and they get chased out. And this is where they take on the dogmen forces with the ATST, and they do defeat it after a little bit of hard work, let's say, especially by Cara Dune jumping out point and trying to get the ATST to come into the trap because it wasn't going for it. And finally, after the battle's over and the dogmen have been defeated, the Mandalorian decides that he thinks that the Baby Yoda would be best if he stayed at the village because hanging around him is not any way to live. But unfortunately, just when he makes this choice, one of the guild bounty hunters tracks them, and just about the time we see him going to take out Baby Yoda by sniper, Cara Dune gets a jump on him and kills him. And this is when the Mandalorian decides he can't stick around.
Now, that scene right there offered up the only disappointment that I've had thus far with the series.
That Cara Dune was right there?
Yes. That was the only disappointment.
I thought that was a little bit like, how would she know he was there?
I was fine with that, what I wanted. And it's just because it is probably my favorite moment in The Force Awakens is when Kylo Ren is being fired upon by Poe Dameron, and he turns and stops a blaster bolt in midair. I wanted to see that again with Baby Yoda.
That would have been cool.
That small little difference could have made the entire series go in a completely different way. And maybe that's why they didn't do something like that. But oh my God, once I saw that they were getting ready to take aim, I knew it was coming, man. I didn't get it. The last time I felt that disappointed was when Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character's name was in fact Robin in the third Christopher Nolan Batman movie instead of Dick Grayson. Right. I was like, come on. I wanted Dick. You gave me a little Robin Dick. Why'd you do that, man? That was the last time I've been that disappointed.
Nice.
But
I'm
not going to bitch about what didn't actually get created. You know, what they had, it was what it was. But it seemed a little convenient.
I thought that the Cara Dune just getting a jump on the bounty hunter, although it wasn't like a big deal, but I always was like, it's kind of like, all right, I'll just take it just as because it's an action schlock TV show. But it just seems like, seems too convenient.
Yes,
to set that up. Exactly. But I guess it's just a quick way to say they're being hunted, and he can't stay there. He can't stay there with the kid. So
right.
I like that episode. I thought it was a perfectly fine episode. It's fun. Seeing a big, it had to be a big production just itself, just them running through those, all that, the trees and the, the sets they had to set up for that. So,
my God, the budget that this show must have.
Yeah, I would say, absolutely.
Jesus.
So we're going to get into episode 5. This is the Gunslinger. The Mandalorian is being chased by another bounty hunter, and they have a little space fight, which was kind of cool to see because we don't see too much of that so far. he gets his ship gets a little beat up, but he takes out the other bounty hunter pretty quick. And when he goes to a nearby dock, he is in Mos Eisley's Tatooine. We're back to Tatooine. So this was fun. This is Tatooine post Return of the Jedi. So the Empire is gone, and we have stormtroopers' heads on pikes,
which was amazing to see.
Pretty like.
Now, let me stop you here for just 1 second. This is just an observation, and this is something that I hope is corrected, at least in The Mandalorian, maybe someplace else. We're always going back to Tatooine, man. Always. We're always going back there. And don't get me wrong,
it's supposed to be like
love Tatooine.
It seems like an out-of-the-way planet. It's supposed to be, but we always keep going back there.
Yeah, don't they even make reference to that in Star Wars A New Hope? That Tatooine is far too remote to make an effective example. That's why they destroy Alderaan. That and the fact that it's Leia's, supposed home planet. Right. Why are we always back in Tatooine? Why have we never... I'm sorry to bring it up, guys. I promise you I'm sorry, but I didn't hate everything. Why are we never back in Naboo? Why can't we go to Naboo?
It's an interesting question. Naboo... Yeah, it's a pretty planet.
It is. Don't get me wrong. The Gungans, I'm fine if there's a genocide, but Naboo was a pretty planet. It really was.
And you can navigate through its core.
Yes, exactly. And on top of that, it would be very interesting to see what a planet that had that kind of aesthetic looks like post-Emperor, post-Empire. Yeah. Because we saw how it looked when, the Republic was kind of waning and stuff like that. I want to see what the shadow of Naboo looks like now.
Really,
That's
Senator?
What I want to see.
Really, Senator? Do you really expect me to believe that the Empire has fallen? Yes, Queen. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Why does the Queen talk like she's got marbles in her mouth?
You got me, dude. Seriously, you got me. But in Vader's ire and rage and hate-filled heart, he's going back to Naboo and chopping down some Gungans, bitch. Come on. Yeah, I want to see what the shadows of Naboo look like. Maybe that's why we haven't seen it. Maybe it's too depressing. Maybe the minute we set our eyes on Naboo, every bit of our memory from Phantom Menace is just going to be like dust. It's going to be just filled with screams of Gungans and stuff like that. And you know what? Bring it. Bring it.
Actually, that's a funny thought, because did you ever play like a game like Civilization or
oh god, yes,
or any of those cities or the Sim cities or anything like that where you're building things, but then something happens.
Warcraft, Civilization, Rome, yeah.
Sure. So do you ever you maybe there was a city or a nation that you took over and they were such a pain in the dick to take over, you're just fighting them, and finally you take over them, and you're like, fine, I'm just gonna poison the land with put factories up. Maybe Vader was so pissed off with Naboo, he put every disgusting refinery, on Naboo, and he enslaved the Gungans to make them work in the shit factory or something like that, and
make Imperial Viagra.
Yeah,
make
exactly.
More. Do it now.
Exactly. So, and it's maybe he did that, so Naboo is just nothing like it used to be. It was a beautiful planet. Exactly. Now it's complete garbage planet because of what the Empire did to it over the last 20 some years.
Clone soldiers need Viagra too. Now you guys can laugh at the absurdity of that, or you can laugh about the fact that the United States has spent $63 million in the last year on Viagra for our troops. Either way it goes, what the fuck? Okay.
Yeah. Those guys are young guys. They should be able to get it up.
Hails to the yeah, man. And they're fets, Gen 1, I guess. I don't know.
But yeah, so back to Tatooine, Robbie.
Back to Tatooine. Now that we've gone, we went all the way to Gungan Viagra, and now let's get back to the actual show.
Exactly.
This is why you have me on, isn't it?
Yeah, well, in part.
For the record, I had a point. Okay,
you did. It actually was an interesting point at that as well. I'll give you that. But so Tatooine, he sets down to get repairs, and there's this kind of scrappy older lady who's like, oh my God, the ship's a wreck, and he doesn't want the droids to work on the ship, so she's got to do it herself. So during that time, he goes to the cantina, our famous cantina, and he meets this young bounty hunter, Toro, and he is a fledgling bounty hunter, and he has some crazy bounty hunter assassin. Was it called Fennec Shand?
Fennec Shand, yeah. By the way, I do want to hold up just 1 second. That scrappy lady that you're talking about is none other than Amy Sedaris.
Oh yeah, I saw that, and she really doesn't even look like her.
She didn't look like her when she was playing the lead character in Strangers with Candy either. This woman is an amazing actress. Yeah, I love Amy Sedaris.
I was shocked at that. I was like, because I saw the credits later on. I was like, holy shit, that was Amy Sedaris. I was like,
yep.
What the fuck? It doesn't even look like her.
She had almost like a Charlize Theron and Monster thing going on.
Yes.
She was barely recognizable. Amazing makeup work. Amazing. Because she's actually a beautiful woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a very, very attractive woman. She looked just like this frazzled older lady.
But she was spunky as hell.
Yeah, she's great.
I loved her. her.
So when he's he finds out this Toro's got to go with this Fennec Shand, which is like a master Imperial assassin apparently, and he's like, you're way outclassed, and he was like, well, how about we do it together? And so the Mandalorian decides he needs money to get a ship fixed, so whatever, might as well try. But during this time, we find out that the lady who's doing the Amy Sedaris character finds Baby Yoda. So apparently, Mandalorian just left him on the ship,
like you do.
And then Baby Yoda comes wandering out looking for Daddy, and finds Amy Sedaris instead. And
it could have been a completely different type of perception here if you had stopped a blaster bolt in midair. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Would have changed everything.
Right now, it looks like abuse. He's stopping a blaster bolt. Baby Yoda can take care of himself.
Yeah, I don't think Mandalorian's the best example of a father, unfortunately.
No. He got a big heart, nickel head, okay?
Yeah. He's too fast to run out the door and shoot his blaster.
Screaming arrows.
And which goes into the thing, Amy Sedaris discovers him, and Mandalorian trusts Amy Sedaris with Baby Yoda as he jumps on speeder bikes with Toro to go after their quarry. And we have a great scene of them speeding off on the speeder bikes through Tatooine, which I thought was pretty cool.
Definitely.
And they come across a dewback, which is dragging some poor soul that was trying to hunt the same Fennec Shand.
Hold on now, Tusken Raider sign language, man.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, that is great. Which was
that
weird.
Was really weird, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Up to that point, it was basically just like them sounding like walruses or seals or something like that. And yet another Tatooine species that we don't know what they look like underneath the robes. Because that isn't what a Tusken Raider looks like, is it? I mean, they've got what looks to be like metal appendages and their faces wrapped with like this cloth. It reminds me very much of Dune, like one of the sand suits that they would wear.
Yeah, the still suits, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So what do Tusken Raiders even look like? And is there, are they more humanoid or whatnot? But whatever the case may be, we've actually seen them actually communicate now. Rather than just...
Well, it probably makes sense to other Tusken Raiders.
True. Battle cries, war cries.
It's like, whales understand each other.
Me pre and post coital, you're around me long enough, you get the sounds, you understand what's going on. It's like, he sprained a hip, sprained a hip.
Sprained a hip.
He did something he wasn't supposed to.
Oh no, he's got to put it on ice. Yeah, that was interesting. It was an interesting scene. No doubt whatsoever. And they decide. So they track down this Shand, and but she has the high ground, Robbie.
That she does, and she takes supreme advantage of that.
Just like Obi-Wan had the high ground.
Oh, yes. But they'll be back with greater numbers.
So, Mandalorian decides he's going to take a nap while he leaves Toro to sit there and watch and make sure that she doesn't take off from her high ground spot.
Yes. Because he's a fucking badass.
So he goes to take a nap, and then when he finally wakes him up, he decides it's dark, and he runs off, and he circles around to catch up with Shan. And this is where they have a little fight, and fortunately, the Mandalorian is getting his ass kicked, but Toro comes in and kind of distracts, if anything, so the Mandalorian can get a jump on Shan. And they do end up capturing her. And this is where they decide they can't all go back on the bikes. Oh, she blew up one of the bikes, didn't she? That's what happened. One of the speeder bikes. And so they need something else to get back on. So he decides to double back to get to the dewback. And this is when Toro and Shan start having a conversation. And he realizes that she's like, hey, that Mandalorian, they're looking for him in the guild. So maybe we could do something together. And Toro's like, that's a good point. But I'm not going to use you. And he just kills Shan right there.
Boom.
Just pretty cold. And this is where he takes the bike, goes all the way back to Mos Eisley without the Mandalorian, and grabs Baby Yoda. And by the time Mandalorian figures this all out, he has to race back, and he's too late. And they have kind of the shootout between the Mandalorian and Toro. But, of course, Toro doesn't really make it, does he?
Not so much, no.
And
was there ever any question? I mean, come on now.
He's, you kind of hope that maybe the kid would have, wised up, but nah. He ain't gonna.
I would have liked to see him as a cool, recurring sidekick or something like that.
Yeah,
I didn't mind Toro. I didn't mind him at all.
No,
until he double-crossed him and put Baby Yoda in harm. Because fuck a person that puts Baby Yoda in harm.
Don't fuck up Baby Yoda.
Absolutely not. I reject you if you put Baby Yoda in harm. Fuck you.
What was his name? The captain from Doctor Who. Captain Jack.
Captain Jack.
Yeah. It was him.
Oh, yes.
He was like that type of character that just showed up and hello, baby.
Dude, good pull. Excellent pull, man.
Love that guy. So he basically thanks Amy Sedaris' character for taking care of Baby Yoda and pays her the money that he got from Toro. And I guess out in the desert, you see some mysterious people approach Shan's body. So we don't know what that is. So obviously, she's coming back somehow.
You see an up close shot too. Did you rewind this and take a look?
I didn't, but I remember. And I'm like, what is that about?
Okay, if you were to watch very closely, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I am wrong, but maybe. Just maybe we called a huge reveal in the last episode that I was on. Because as I rewound it by about the fourth time I watched what was going on here, you're seeing metallic body armor with a greenish hue. A little bit of gold around the knee, and a side-swiped cape.
Oh boy, is it? You're saying it's Boba Fett.
I'm saying it's Boba Fett. I'm saying that they're on Tatooine. That is the last known whereabouts of Boba Fett when he fell into the Sarlacc.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm saying that we just saw our first teasing revelation that Boba Fett is going to make an appearance in this show.
So, way back in the day, there was a comic that showed Boba Fett. He escaped from the Sarlacc pit.
Yep. And there was further continuity that showed that he not only escaped, but he had a constant grudge with Han Solo that lasted until they both, as old men, saw each other basically in the square and both pulled their guns on each other.
You bastard.
Essentially. And then they both lowered their guns and gave each other a what-up and just went about their merry way.
That's funny.
Yeah, he lost a leg in the Sarlacc, too.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
Yep. He lost a leg in the Sarlacc. One of his legs is robotic now.
Well, I guess it could happen. And we don't know how far past Jedi or Return of the Jedi this is. Oh, it's 5 years.
It happened before. It can happen again. Is all I'm saying. It happened before. It can happen again. Or if you want to be more confident, you can quote Battlestar Galactica. This has all happened before. This shall happen again.
Sure enough. It might be cool. I mean, we only have a couple more episodes left before this the season.
Yeah, they're capping it at what, 10 for the first season?
I don't know. I thought it was 8, but I could be wrong.
It might be 8. Shows like this is either 8, 10, or 12.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So we're going to jump into episode 6, The Prisoner. The Mandalorian comes into one of his former partners, Ran, and he has his own space station, apparently.
Yep.
And,
this guy, forget his name, but he played in Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, yeah, he did. That's where I recognized him before. Kind of the same type of character, too.
Yes, very much so. Very, very much so.
And they come to the space station, and he basically has this big job, and it's a 5-man job. And so he's got this ex-Imperial sharpshooter, Mayfield, played by Bill Burr, which was really bizarre seeing Bill Burr in Star Wars.
It was, but he owned it,
Oh, he did, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't know Bill Burr was that much in shape.
Yeah, neither did I. Holy
shit. He looks in decent shape for his, for a guy, of his vocation. A Deveronian, and who's like a big, strong guy, which I would love to see the Deveronian. It was great. I actually, just full disclosure, the old West End role-playing game for Star Trek, or Star Wars, so I say, I had a Deveronian bounty hunter, and I had a lot of fun with him.
Nice.
So we have that. We got a droid, Q90, and we have a Twi'leks, Zayn, and I think I'm saying that's right. And their rescue mission is to rescue Zayn's brother Quinn, which is a prisoner on a New Republic ship. So it's a heist, get out of jail, episode.
And this is the first time I think that we've ever seen a Twi'leks with dialogue, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, we've seen a Jedi and we've seen a dancer.
Yeah,
but this is the first time we've ever seen any of them with dialogue.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Twi'leks in Attack of the Clones just turned around. I don't even know if she gasped when she was being
and
66.
Revenge of the Sith, yeah, when she gets gunned down.
Oh, it was Revenge of the Sith. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I think she just turns around. Yeah, I think you're right.
And she gets just cut down by droids or something, or no, it was the
stormtroopers.
It was stormtroopers, right. So they Rand keeps on saying that this is like the old days and blah blah blah. So they take off and they have this like distinct plan of how they're going to get onto this New Republic ship and not get detected. And the only way you can do it is by this droid piloting the Mandalorian ship. Mandalorian ship apparently doesn't have any like registration or isn't known for the New Republic or the Empire. So it's like this ghost ship that nobody knows anything about.
And it is at this point the series officially becomes Firefly with a less likable supporting cast there.
Oh, okay. Absolutely. These guys
and I'm not dissing the cast here because this episode was incredible. What I'm saying is that when we said that this was a space western last episode, the last time I was on, every single one of these episodes that we are seeing, they're all westerns.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in the most popular space western of all time, you've seen these plots. Specifically this one. This heist type plot is something that is done in all sci-fi shows when given a long enough timeline. The Mandalorian's just getting it out right now. And it crushes it too.
Oh, absolutely.
It crushes this episode. It was such a good one.
So much fun. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the droid gets him to the ship with some breakneck turns. And this is during this flight over. They do discover the Baby Yoda is on the ship, and this Mayfield, the Bill Burr character, is kind of, you can tell there's this like thing that they're going to double cross Mandalorian from the get go. Like they're just,
they telegraphed that shit.
They're like goading him. They're gonna like Mayfield saying, maybe I need a pet and I'll use Baby Yoda will be my pet. And at some point, the Devaronian's gonna pull his mask off and they start fighting for a moment. So I mean, there's just like all these things, just like they're this group is like a bunch of degenerates, and they're just a bunch of assholes. Really, it comes down to,
Oh yes,
yes. They dock up to the New Republic prison ship. They get on board. As they're going through, they're trying not to be detected by. They have a bunch of droids patrolling the hallways, but unfortunately, these security droids find them. They get into some fights, and Mandalorian just kicks the droid's ass. Was there like 5 of them or 6 of them? I don't know.
Yeah,
how many,
something like that.
But there's a ton of them. He just did great. It was really cool to see him take them all out. And while the rest of them kind of stand back in the shadows, like, ooh. So it kind of shows you. But there was another scene, too, right after that where the Devaronian takes out like a bunch of droids, like the big ones, and start throwing them around. Those big garbage can ones.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fun as well. And during this time, they're going to find the Quinn and the Twi'leks, and when they get there, they double cross him. Oh, I'm sorry, I should back up just slightly. They go to the control room of it's like sort of like the bridge of the prison ship, and there's one New Republic soldier that's on there, and they have this Mexican standoff with everybody holding guns to each other's head, and he has this like security beacon to bring the New Republic ships in case anything happens. And unfortunately, Mandalorian tries to negotiate something that he doesn't feel threatened, but the fucking assholes that he's with just make it worse. And finally, he gets killed by the Twi'leks, and he sets off the trigger for the security beacon. So they are coming, the New Republic ships, within 20 minutes or something to that nature. So now it's a race to get Quinn out. They find Quinn, and right after that, they double-cross the Mandalorian and throw the Mandalorian into Quinn's cell. And they run off, making their way back to the Mandalorian ship while the Mandalorian is stuck in the cell. And during this time, Mandalorian finds one of the droids going by and uses his, grappling hook, and fires him and brings the guys in, and he can use his, what I don't know what those things are called, Robbie, that like R2-D2 uses to hack into computers and unlock computers.
I don't know the technical name of them. Josiah Leroy probably would know, but I don't.
Yeah, so he uses a thing from the droid to unlock his cell, so he gets out using his as a key. And this is where he goes back to the control center of the prison ship, and he puts it on lockdown. And everyone there, the group of the heist group that he was with, that double-crossed him, have been now divided because he puts down all these blast shield walls throughout the whole ship, and they have to make their way. And this is where Mandalorian goes one by one and starts trying to take out these assholes. So, and it's pretty fun to watch. He takes on the Devaronian, takes on the Twi'leks, and then takes on Mayfield. And during this time, the droid that pilot the ship, the Q-90, is aware that Baby Yoda's there, and he's trying to track him down. So he's like searching the ship for Baby Yoda during this whole time, which is odd. I thought that he'd be interested in that. And then so the Mandalorian gets the jump on anyone, and then finally he's gets Quinn there, and he's like, I'm the reason you're getting paid to bring me back. You should keep me alive. So Mandalorian thinks about it, so he decides that he's going to let we don't know it, but lets Quinn live. And just then, when they get back onto the Mandalorian ship, the droid, the Q90, finds Baby Yoda, and it looks like he's about to take him out. And this is where the Mandalorian takes out the droid Q90, and they go back to Rand's space station, and he delivers Quinn, and he's like, "What happened to the rest of them?" He goes, "No questions asked, right?" He's like, "All right," and he pays him his money. And when he goes leave, Rand decides he's going to double cross him and shoot him down with one of their fighters or some. He's going to launch an attack fighter. But what he doesn't realize that the Mandalorian put on Quinn that homing beacon that the New Republic soldier triggered way back when they're, and so a bunch of 3 X-wings jump into by the Rand station. They see that they're about to attack the Mandalorian ship, but they assume it's for them, and they start firing on the space station and take the space station out, while the Mandalorian jumps into hyperspace and away from all that mess.
Right, right.
So great, fun episode. Lot of
if I may, flies off into the sunset. Oh, yeah. Western terminology.
Very much.
Look at that. Look at that.
Very much so. Very fun to watch. A lot of. I mean, the sets were awesome.
Yes,
you got to see, like I said, the Devronian. We got to see the Twi'leks. Even the droid, the Q90 was interesting. At the New Republic prison ship. That's just a fun idea. Just to play with. So, and then X-wings at the very end. Good stuff. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine anything better for an episode. But we have a couple more episodes coming up. So I mean,
we do.
I'm assuming they're going to be pretty insane. So I don't know.
They've got the bar set incredibly high. So absolutely. I hope they realize what they are doing.
Yeah, and after this prisoner one, I mean, the other ones have been really. I mean, the Tatooine one's been amazing. The Gunslinger, even the Sanctuary one with the dogmen and stuff like that. As we were saying, just the sets alone, there. I mean, that they have set up all that stuff.
Episode 3 with the whole group of Mandalorians, where you're seeing them all coming out the woodwork and shit like that. I mean, this series has had so much win. This series automatically was put in the top 5 shows of 2019 for me for Baby Yoda alone. Okay, and we didn't even need a Mandalorian to carry that. No, we already get Baby Yoda. We're there.
We've just done Baby Yoda in his crib, and we would
exactly. Okay, but instead we get an IG-88 or an IG version. We get Bosk. We get X-wings. We get gunslingers. We get Tatooine. We get the conversation about possibly Naboo being turned into a Viagra factory. We get all of this shit in this series, man. Hands down, this is on my short list for somewhere in the top 5 of 2019. Probably not at the top because there's been some amazing things out there. Has anyone else seen Marianne on Netflix? Okay, but this is in the top 5 for me.
I haven't seen Marianne, but
French horror show. Very good. Very scary. Very scary. Very very scary.
I think this has been amazing. I think it's a little light on anything deeper and plot-wise, but honestly, I don't know if I want that for the show. I kind of just like the visuals and just enjoying him going from, story to story and trying to figure it. And they're all encapsulated, like each little story is kind of like within itself.
Yes, and that's another parallel that I draw to Firefly as well, is the fact that you had your mission of the week or your heist of the week. Right. You know what I mean? It's very Wheaton-esque in that sense. You have your overall overarching narrative, but you still have your monster of the week or your heist of the week. And I agree with you. I don't think that it needs a whole lot more extra there when you already have the core themes of Lone Wolf and Cub and the ultimate theme of get away, save the child. You know what I mean?
Right.
At this point, I don't think you need any more than the core themes that the show already has.
I agree.
Which is save the child, get away.
Right, right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, and we do have, I guess, the overarching theme that he's being hunted because he saved Baby Yoda.
Yes, precisely.
So, I don't know. I obviously it's going to move into a second season at some point. I don't know when the projections of that, when that would be, is coming out. That's going to be another year from now. But, this is it, man. This is what, if they can do a show like this a year, if they can do 2 of these a year.
It might even get Duncan back on the Star Wars train.
I think this already has, honestly. It really has. So I really think this is, and there's nothing else. There's no other part of the story. It's fun, just action.
Yeah.
There's no love interest. I mean, they had that one for the Sanctuary for a second, but Mandalorian's like, you're not taking my helmet off.
Yeah, you flirt with the idea of it, but right now you don't need that. You need personality. You need to humanize him a little bit. He's been a contract killer, man. He was in. It's quite obvious that the Mandalorian culture is very much like, I don't know, a bounty hunting version of Sparta. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a warrior culture. Very much so, yep. So when you have an opportunity to humanize this space age proto-Spartan, you use it. You don't need to go full nun right now. Take the time allotted to you. This is not a film. This is a TV show. This is going back to what we were talking about earlier with the change of the showrunner with Star Trek. When I was talking about, you have a longer time to tell a story. You have that length. Use it. You don't need to rush it. Okay.
It is a cool thing about TV shows that, instead of the 2-3 hour film, you have 8 to 10 hours.
Right.
And then you can do a lot. You can do a lot. Yeah.
Right.
That's pretty cool. It's like doing 3 movies.
Ultimately, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think they've got this. If they can redo this or do whatever, I know they're going to do the Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's still see, I'm still interested in that. I think, I don't know. It could be cool. And, what's his name who played him? It's escaping me right now from the prequels.
Ewan McGregor?
Ewan McGregor. I think he's a wonderful man.
I do too. I maintain, but prove me wrong. I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to keep an open mind. Look, I did not want a Joker movie. Okay? I had zero interest when I heard that they were making a standalone Joker film. Mm-hmm. No interest. Don't make it. I don't want it. Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix looks all cool and stuff like that. Okay, whatever. I don't care. It's stupid. Don't make it. The Joker does not need to exist without Batman. The Joker is a force of nature. Then they give us the Joker. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was spellbinding, man. It was Taxi Driver in a comic book universe. It was spellbinding. So
it's funny, Robbie. You probably didn't hear Dave and I's podcast on that, but Dave was not on board with Joker.
I'm not exactly surprised, but
I know.
He and I will eventually debate that later. Yeah. But my ultimate point is just what I was saying earlier at the beginning of the episode. Keep an open mind. Okay? I had zero interest in a Joker movie. Prove me wrong. My mind was fucking proven wrong. Okay? I have zero interest in an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. Prove me wrong. You didn't really prove me wrong with Han Solo. It was aggressively competent. It was a fun movie. It did not feel like a Star Wars movie. Prove me wrong with Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. I want to like it. I will give you my money happily. You won me with Mandalorian. It
would be interesting to tell the story of Obi-Wan, in between after, he sets down at Tatooine and like what happens between Luke growing up, those whatever 18 some years.
Yeah, definitely. Show us that, man. Show us that. I'm in for something like that. I am not interested in the Obi-Wan centric story, but prove me wrong, man. There's so many ways you could go that could be cool. Just, I don't know. Without more details, I don't know how to feel. That's where it comes down to. Well, I guess what I want is these side stories to be side stories. I want them to be like The Mandalorian. Just because they're in a Star Wars universe does not mean that it has to be adjacent to a saga character.
Okay, let's blue sky this for a moment.
Sure, let's do it.
If you were head of Disney, name 2 to 3 side stories that would be fun for you to watch.
Okay, I would make it a series, not a movie. I would do Knights of the Old Republic, first off. It is not a saga story, but it goes back up further enough in time to where you can play with the canon over there. Okay?
Nice.
So I'm going to shoot it over there. Second, the closest proximity that I would want to get. Show me a story. You can even feature him if you want. Show me a story on Bespin, Cloud City. Give me a gambler story. Give me a crime-type thriller that takes place on Bespin. Maybe follow whoever takes over Cloud City after Lando Calrissian leaves. Because that place is rolling in dough, okay? Show me a story about that.
Interesting. Like that.
You can still have these characters, man. I mean, it's as evidenced by having stormtrooper heads on pikes, by having the possibility of an appearance of Boba Fett. You can still have these core universe characters. Just because it's a side story does not mean that they don't go in, because I'm still expecting to see R2-D2 and C-3PO show the fuck up, okay? They can never not show the fuck up. I'm still expecting it. What I'm saying is you don't have to have a side story that follows Han Solo.
I agree.
You don't need a side story there, okay? Obi-Wan has decades of story you could tell. Yeah. I'm not sure what they're going to do. I'm not sure how I feel about it. My instincts tell me don't do it. Prove yourself with something else first.
I could
go there.
It would be cool to see a Rebel X-Wing squad.
Oh, I'd love that. I would love that.
You know,
show me the Rogue Squadron, the squadron that was named after the original Rogue One team that sacrificed themselves on the beaches trying to get the plans for the Death Star. The Rogue Squadron, which you next saw in The Empire Strikes Back, which was named after the squad of the Rogues. All right, show me that.
Right. Yeah,
show me Rogue Squadron.
That'd be fun.
Show me what happened to some of those people, because as evidenced in the dialogue, not all of them made it to the rendezvous point when we were picking back up in Empire and in Jedi. It's unconfirmed what happened to them, but let's be honest, the Star Destroyers didn't get everybody. Show me that.
You can't get everybody.
You can't get them all, bitches. Show me that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That is a side story.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And there's a lot you could do, you know. I mean, you could kind of see, like, it would be kind of cool because you'd be like, cycle some characters out, you know, they got killed, and like the heartbreak of losing their fellow, whatever you want to call them, rebel pilots, and their comrades, and then bringing somebody else in and stuff like that. That'd be a lot of fun, you know. I agree. I agree that we don't have to talk about these main characters from the original trilogies. We can move off of that.
There was a miniseries called Crimson Guard. I believe it was from Dark Horse Comics way back in the day.
Yeah.
Basically, it followed a member of the old Crimson Guard, what is now, I guess, referred to as the Praetorian Guard in the new films, but one of the original guys that were dressed all in crimson that guarded the Emperor. After the Empire fell and the ships were, destroyed and whatnot, a lot of people escaped on eject pods. It follows a brainwashed bodyguard to the Emperor and how he changed his ways. Show me that.
Cool. That's cool.
Show me redemption. Give me a story like that. And I'm not saying don't do Obi-Wan, man. I'm saying, why are you jumping right in it? Why are you jumping right to the puss, man? Lick the legs a little bit, nibble up top.
That's what they're doing with Mandalorian. Yeah, I think that's what they're doing. Yeah.
Exactly. You don't just need to jump to the puss, okay?
Oh. Yeah, I get it. I think they want to do some Jedi shit, so
So make baby Yoda stop a blaster bolt in midair.
He's not there yet. So Robbie, by the time people get this, The Rise of Skywalker will be pretty much in theaters.
Yeah.
So we are on the eve, if you will, of the new movie. And
that's right. I'll be going this weekend. How about you?
I guess. And we will be talking about it for this next episode, I believe, if everything goes right. But I had posted on Facebook that I recently rewatched The Last Jedi, and I don't know if you recall, because we did our roundtable, whatever it was, 2 years ago when Last Jedi came out. It was with you and I and Dave, Chris Chavez, and
Holly.
Holly, I think, was there. Yeah, Holly was there. Yeah, and Brooke was there, and
she might have been, yeah.
And I came down that I thought there were some problems with the movie, and we debated this. Dave was pretty adamant, as he normally can be, and I rewatched the movie recently, and I came to some realizations that some things maybe I didn't realize, or maybe I changed my viewpoint. I still don't think The Last Jedi is a fantastic movie. I think it makes a lot of big changes that I don't think I was picking up what they were throwing right away. And I just kind of want to talk with you, and I just, people can, kind of, I'm not a convert completely, but I think this movie has more validity than I originally thought.
Okay.
I guess that's where I'm coming from, so.
Full disclosure, I'm on the side of this movie actually is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. It is not perfect at all. It has some weird shit. It has some quirky shit. It has some problems. I'm not saying that it is a flawless movie. What I am saying is that this movie has far more subtext than has been discussed. Okay.
Right.
This movie has a lot going on, and it tells a hell of a big story to give a very small message, and then it tells a very small personal story in very close confined claustrophobic areas to say something monumentally huge. Okay, it has that kind of duality.
It does. I'll give you that, and I don't think I picked up on all of that right away. I just want to go through the points. I made a Tumblr post and all this, and you can look it up if you're interested, but I'll just kind of quickly go through it. First of all was the connection I saw between Rey and Kylo Ren. I thought it was weird at first when I first watched it. I thought that they were trying to make a romantic overtures towards each other when Snoke was bringing them together through the Force.
Yeah, I picked that up too.
But then I thought maybe there's something else happening here. Maybe they're connected in a way that I wasn't thinking, because I was thinking they don't. I came to the decision that maybe they're because Snoke said that if you have with Kylo Ren's power rising, the light will have something rise to it to the same strength. So the dark side rises in strength, the light will come to meet it on the same way. And I came to think of Rey and Kylo Ren as the yin and yang symbol, or the philosophy of the yin and yang. So the concept of dualism, and how opposite or contrary forces are complementary and they're interconnected. So, and that's, I really think that's kind of what they're going for here with these two characters. Kylo is the evil, but there's something light inside of him still. I mean, we see him, he kills his father, Han Solo, but then he hesitates to kill his mother in The Last Jedi. So there's something about him that he can't do that. Secondly,
Agreed.
He has some kind of affection towards Rey, even though she bested him.
All right. Try this on for size, because Kylo Ren, especially after the death of Snoke, has cemented himself as being the second most well-developed Star Wars antagonist in the universe in general. Kylo Ren is a very interesting character in that he is constantly being tempted by the light side of the Force, something that we have not seen up to this point, and his Jedi abilities seem to run completely based on emotion. Completely based on emotion. Right. Look at what happens as soon as he kills his father, okay? Boom, runs him through with his lightsaber, which he built himself. And then gets shot by Chewie with that blaster bolt right into his side. Okay? Boom, instant pain recharge, and then he gets shot with a blaster bolt. Now watch that movie again, having me said that sentence, and pay attention to what happens to literally anybody else that gets hit with one of those. Kylo Ren is literally using his Force abilities to keep his fucking intestines inside him, constantly punching himself in the side to keep himself.
Keep the pain going, so keep him alert and going.
Exactly. And the entire time, and this is a criticism that many people have said, oh, well, Rey's such a Mary Sue because she can go toe-to-toe with Kylo Ren. Are you freaking kidding me? First off, it was 2 against 1 to start with. Secondly, he's using the Force to keep his body from literally falling in two. And if you watch the choreography that was specifically created for that scene, he is not actually attacking. He's waving his lightsaber around and acting in a defensive maneuver. And as soon as he drops the dark side angle toward the end of the fight, Rey picks that shit up. That just to go and prove your point, as soon as he drops the dark side and tries to tempt her by being much more friendly and whatnot, Rey picks that shit right up. When you look at her face when she goes to swing down at Kylo, that is anger, rage, and hate. That is the way of the dark side.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And the flip it, as I was saying too, is that Rey is the opposite. Where and the other thing about Kylo is that, first of all, he's raised. I mean, his father's Han Solo, his mother's Leia Organa. He has the Skywalker, bloodline that gives him the power of the Force. He has Luke Skywalker as his teacher. He has everything. He's given.
He is the dynasty character.
Yeah, he is given so much privilege, and yet he rejects it all, and he hates himself for it. When you have Rey on the exact opposite. And unless this movie says something different, the upcoming movie is like right now, as far as we know, she has no lineage, no parents. She's completely abandoned. She's a junk salvager. No guidance whatsoever, no direction in her life, and yet she's drawn to the light side. She's not bitter towards life, and she's the exact opposite, and that she has that inside that has been hardened because of the hard life that she's lived.
Yeah.
So where Kylo's never had that, he's been catered to probably his whole entire life.
Exactly.
So,
and I hope that they don't change the nature of Rey's parentage. I know people want her to be a Kenobi. I know people want her to be, Han Solo's bastard love child. I know that. I get all that. But at the same time, even if she ends up with that bloodline, it's not going to change who Rey is, first off. And secondly, to me, one of the key points of the whole Rey-Kylo relationship in The Last Jedi is you have the dynasty character telling the non-dynasty character, the nobody, that dynasties don't matter. And he's going to help her burn the whole thing down just to make her feel better. You have the movie responding to its own criticism in real time. The dynasty character is saying that dynasties don't matter, that the Force is there.
Right.
That is something that was powerful to me and something that I feel was stripped from us and raped from us after, and I'm sorry to use strong language like that, but that is truly how I feel with The Phantom Menace and the creation of midichlorians. Because for how many decades did people fantasize about being a Jedi and having the Force and stuff like that? Because it's a living, powerful energy field. And anybody, if you try hard enough, can master that, can be the Jedi, can be Luke Skywalker, can be Leia. Only to find out that you've got these tiny little microscopic space bugs inside you that's dictating everything, that tells you, hey, you're one with the Force. Hey, you're not. Hey, let's all join together and make a baby and Shmi Skywalker over there.
Yeah, I feel you there, and I never felt that the midichlorians. It could be anybody. Honestly, I don't think it necessarily has to be just one bloodline. It could be, as we were saying, I think we were saying like 2 episodes ago when we were talking about Mandalorian before, we're saying that, two people get together and weird things happen. You get somebody becomes a prodigy because these 2 genetic combinations have never been done before, and somehow everything clicks in and they become, a whiz at math or something like that. They're like nobody's ever seen before, and nobody in their family has ever been like that before. So, I think those are possibilities that you just can't predict.
True, but that also offers the argument nature versus nurture. You know what I mean?
I agree. Obviously, but you must agree that there are some people that out the gate they just have inherent talent, and you're just like, I don't have that, but I'm just going to grind it out until I get there.
Absolutely. You're seeing that with Rey, and you're seeing that with the stable boy at the end.
Yeah. But Rey, I want to jump into that at some point too. Rey's power is like off the chart, which kind of like frustrates me about this movie. That's where I get kind of like, I fall away. Like I get kind of like, she can move that many boulders, Luke could barely move like 3, when we saw him in Empire.
Do you want to get there, or do you want to address that now?
If you want to jump into it.
Okay. A lot of people's criticism is, she can move all these boulders and everything like that right out the gate just when she's learning. She's just learning how to use the Force and everything. My argument to you is she?
Somebody else is doing it?
No. Is she just now learning to use the Force? Or has she, in some weird way, shape, or form, always been doing that? Again, look at the stable boy at the end of the movie. Never discount the people that have been shit on. Never discount the kids that have been having to clean up after everyone else's mistakes. Chances are she's always had these abilities, discovered it at a young age, and has always been playing around and toying around with them, but didn't know what the fuck to do. Chances are she's actually kind of a freak prodigy and already had that ability. She just didn't know how to focus, and Luke's actually teaching her how to do that. Expedited? Yes. Could it have used an 80s montage? Oh, hells yes. I loves me an 80s montage. But I get the feeling she's been doing this since that flashback where we saw her, screaming for her parents.
I feel you there because when I talked about that, there's a possibility that she's just this prodigy right off the gate, she just had this ability innate with her for her whole life. And she's, that was maybe the boulder moving was like the first time we saw like a big time thing that she's done. But
Luke had never heard of the Jedi, but because of Luke, the Jedis are now legend. So keep that in mind too. She grew up knowing the stories. That there were fantasy, sure, but she grew up with the stories.
Sure, but like, she says to Luke during, the Last Jedi, she says, I have this, something is happening inside me. This is the first, it scares me. So the Force, to say it, has awakened within her, awoken in her, and it's springing within her for some reason or other. If it's the, like we were saying, the duality of the Force, the dark and the light side, and the light side's now using her as a conduit to meet Kylo Ren and his power. Mm-hmm. If that's what's happening here. I guess my point only being is this, that's where I kind of falls down a little bit. I'm willing to let the boulder thing go, I'm like, okay, I get it, but it's just like, it seems like, she obviously has the big battle with the, in the throne room with Kylo Ren, which is
the Praetorian guards,
which is just kick ass. I mean,
yes,
it's a beautiful, beautiful scene there. But my only problem with it is just that, like, how does she get that good that fast? I mean, Kylo Ren, has been training for at least 10 years, I would imagine, if not longer. Mm-hmm. And she's just starting. So the Force must be really fucking strong with Rey. So That's my issue, I guess, with that. The other one I want to jump into is Luke Skywalker, and this, I think, more than anything about this movie, got a lot of people upset. Other than
I agree.
Other than people shitting on, like
Porgs.
women, well, porgs, but women's empowerment and all that stuff. I'm not interested in all that stuff.
Yeah.
If you know our show, if you know me, I don't care about race or sexualities or gender or any of that shit. As long as it's a good story, you can give me, a transgender Jedi. I don't give a shit as long as it's awesome,
I am very much a feminist in the fact that a feminist is all about equality for women.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
I just want a good story. I want people to be people. I want the characters there to serve the narrative and serve the story. Absolutely. And Star Wars has always been about strong women. If you're trying to say that they're not, you're full of shit. Just go in your little corner. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not interested in entertaining those arguments at all.
Exactly.
But to go back to the Luke Skywalker issue was hard. As I talked about on my Tumblr post, the hardest part was we grew up with, I saw the original New Hope in the theaters, as a young boy. Luke was the quintessential hero. He was the guy who, no matter what, how bad things looked, it's like, we can do this. We can change things. Things can turn around. And, as I said, even after his father, killed Obi-Wan, by proxy killed his aunt and uncle, maimed him by cutting his hand off, and turned him over to the emperor and all that, all that stuff. It's like, how did Luke all of a sudden become this complete hermit, despondent, not interested in helping his sister, helping Han, all that stuff. So it was very difficult for me to, and I think a lot of people my generation, to see and be like, how is this fucking Luke Skywalker?
I get that, because that was, believe it or not, that was my initial reaction too. Until I sat there and thought about it, that was my reaction.
So this is where I thought about it. It's like, so Luke has this new philosophy that the Force is not ours to control. It's not ours to have ownership over, and that's a thought that I after he said it, and I watched it this final time, and I was like, you know what, that's something to say, because if you do believe in that, and it's not something we should control, we should just let it go and let it do itself. Stop the Jedi. The Jedi Order's got to end. That's probably a true, and it's a good thing. But the issue I come with is that if the light side gives up fighting, then the dark side will take over, because they don't give a shit.
True.
And so what would happen is the Sith would be dominant for a period of time.
Yep.
And so I worked out like 4 scenarios, I thought. The first one being the dark and light battle it out like they have been. So you have the Jedi Sith or some iteration of either of the two, and they just keep going the same way. Number 2, one side, like the Sith was to take over, becomes so powerful, and then finally there's a schism, and the power has to rebalance itself because the Force realizes it's not balanced. Another way is the Force, the one side becomes so powerful that there's a mutation within that Force side, and a new type of Force is invented. And then finally, if you could really, truly leave the Force alone, stop the Sith, stop the Jedi, maybe the Force would be distributed equally throughout the galaxy. Either way, but like I said, if the Jedi Order is over, like Luke says, or he wants to, the dark side will prevail for a period of time.
For a period of time, yeah, it will.
So that's the hard part, and I said it's like the Manhattan Project, race to build an atomic bomb, or the race to create artificial intelligence. As Americans, we chase after these technologies because with the atomic bomb, it would be like too terrifying to think if the Nazis or the Soviets were ever to get that technology. And the same thing with China. It would be too.
Yep. I've seen The Man in the High Castle.
Yeah, it'd be too unthinkable to think of these things, but these technologies could end civilization. But so we decide that it's best if we pursue them to at least get out of the hands of people that would act worse. So I guess that's where I come down on this whole thing. It's like it's a great thought, and we're going to have to see where this all ends up by this next movie, which is days away. And like I said, by the time you're hearing this, it'll be upon you right now. So they'll be interesting to see what will happen. And then going on to that is the thought of let the past die. And this is where I thought
if you have to.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is where I thought about it's like, if there's to be new movies coming out of Star Wars, and we don't know really after this movie how a new trilogy would take over. I mean, it's been rumored that if a new trilogy comes, it won't probably have anybody from in the past, or will have a different cast at least. Unless they're going to keep doing this formula over and over again with the Battle of the Jedi and the Sith, they might need a different way to tell the story, and that may be the reason why they're pivoting, because they're like, we're doing now 9 movies about the battle between the Jedi and the Sith. How long can we keep telling the story?
Yep.
And we're going to have to change our formula sooner or later, or at least throw something else into the works. So that's my next thought is like, if they're going to tell stories, they're going to have to start changing things a bit.
Yep.
And that's where I'm like, maybe that's why they're making this big change. And I don't know. It's an interesting thought. So lastly, I just the idea, I've kind of reconsidered my thoughts on Kylo Ren. I never liked him as a character. I had an issue because he was so emo.
Oh, he's emo AF.
Yeah.
Yes,
it was my problem with him. And it's like, and my issue is when Force Awakens came, so I was like, so this is what you're touting as your bad guy? He's like a whiny teenager. That's why I had a problem with him. But now I felt like a sympathy and pity for him, because I realized that he's chasing after like the idea to trying to be Darth Vader, and he's not Darth Vader. He'll never be Darth Vader. He's trying to fill someone's shoes that he can never do. And that's just it's a terrible lifestyle. And he's trying to be, this awful like Sith for Snoke, and he's just not succeeding because that's not who he is.
Precisely, because he's constantly being tempted by the power of the light side of the Force.
Right. Yeah.
It's something that we've never seen before.
It's very interesting, and it's something, something that I never really considered that much until I saw it recently, and I was like, yeah, it's a pathetic, and it's a sad existence. And then you see Rey, who just isn't trying to be anybody but herself.
Yeah,
and she's doing it, and she's being successful without even thinking about it.
When I said that Kylo Ren, and I maintain my stance on this, when I said that Kylo Ren is the second best, most fleshed out Star Wars antagonist in the universe, I did not mean that he was a cool badass of a character. I meant exactly what I said. Kylo Ren, exactly what you just said, at least this is my perception, is pathetic. And I think that that's also part of the point. Everything that you just said. He's constantly aspiring to be like something that he will never be like. He's trying to be like someone he will never be like. He was turned in a moment of weakness to the dark side, something that he is constantly being tempted away from because he does not know, understand, or fully realize his place in everything.
Right.
He's not a character to get behind and say, oh, he's awesome, or oh, he's cool. No, he's pathetic. He is a character to be pitied.
Yeah.
And that in itself makes him so interesting to me. Look at his little bratty freakouts and whines and everything like that. Him destroying the console with his lightsaber, having a little, temper tantrum. The way he chokes out Hux and all that. He's a character to be pitied.
Yeah.
He is a character to shake your head at. He's not something to say he's so cool. His visage is cool. I like his mask. I like his appearance. He's not a character to say, oh, he's a badass, because he's not Darth Vader. He's Kylo Ren.
No,
and
absolutely.
Kylo Ren does not know what the fuck he is.
Right. Exactly.
And just like Rey, as far as the light side and everything, he is very non-binary with his perception of the Force, being constantly tempted by the light side. Whereas Rey, when she's training with Luke, not just once, but twice, goes right into that dark side, hell mouth of a tunnel right there, because she doesn't know any better. Because she is who she is. She's good. She doesn't know any better. She's feeling this pull. She's drawn to it. She explores. And I think that that's also part of the themes that have been kind of going on heavier in Return of the Jedi, or The Last Jedi, but in both movies, is sometimes it's time for the Jedi to get a little bit more dirt on those pristine cream-colored robes. And sometimes the Blackest Night is not quite that dark. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And all right, I'll shut up now because I could go on for hours. But I agree with you. Kylo Ren he's pathetic. Yeah, and that's something that should be realized.
Yeah, it's a tragic character, and it's a sad character, if anything. Yes. And I felt bad for him all of a sudden. Yeah, it's hard because here's the thing with Star Wars. It's such a dramatic setting. You're not talking about, like I said, it's not a Star Trek episode where everything's sort of, like reserved. Maybe a little Shakespearean quote thrown in here or there. Like like it's not that. It's like it's an Old West movie, with blasters and spaceships and stuff like that. It's fun adventure, and when you have a guy like Kylo Ren, I feel like he doesn't fit what kind of character we're normally seeing.
Right.
Like we got Darth Vader's probably one of the most iconic villains of all movies.
And now that we got to see that one scene in Rogue One, we understand why. Holy shit.
But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that we're just like, you see it and you're just like, holy shit, this is so you get that, and he's a more layered character. And I'm interested to see what happens by this next movie where it all falls down, wherever it comes down to. So yeah, Last Jedi, I still believe it's got a lot of problems with some of the storytelling, and I still think the whole Finn and Rose story on Canto Bight or whatever it's called,
Canto Bight,
is a bit. It's a dead end. It could have been told a different way. It seemed like a lot to go through for nothing.
I agree. It was Star Wars camp, which is something that we've always had. But yeah, I agree. It was a long walk to get on the short pier. I like what they did with Benicio del Toro's character. I actually really
I mean, unless he shows up again, I'm like, fuck that guy. Who cares?
Well, first off, yes, fuck that guy. Something tells me we are going to see him again in some fashion. I thought I remembered hearing before that character is supposed to pop up in some sort of project, whether it be the next movie or one of the series that were already being planned. I'm almost positive I heard that was supposed to be his introduction. But even that character is the perfect way to show that, you found the roguiest rogue that ever rogued that you could find in this movie, but the Han Solos of the world don't always go your way.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. I guess it just was like, why did we go down this road?
It was a long road to get there. Don't get me wrong.
What did we? And like, I had a friend after we
trim
made this
some of that. Give me more Rey training montage. All right.
Yeah. I mean, that was interesting, and I mean, not that not everything was interesting, and there was some fun parts to going to Canto, but it just. I didn't think it went anywhere, and they never. I mean, they went to go take the shield down, or not the shield, get the tracker put down by taking down the shield, and it never worked out for them. You know, it was frustrating. It was like, why do we tell this whole story? Like, where did that go? I feel like Poe Dameron's character is such a confusing character. Period. It's just like, yes. You know, they show him in that beginning scene. A lot of fun to see him take down the dreadnought ship, and but then win the battle, lose the war kind of idea by getting all those bombers blown up and all those fighters shot up and stuff like that. And then
makes a lot of bad decisions and gets a lot of people killed in the process.
Yeah, it does a mutiny with Admiral Holdo. And then finally realizes, I've been a fucking ass. And then Leo's like, now you're in charge. You know, it's just like, what?
Yeah, that was a bit of a jump as well. It felt like there's like a 20 minutes worth of Poe Dameron footage that we're missing somewhere.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I agree with that as well. And I'm not saying that it's a perfect movie, but I'm saying that what I am saying and what I've been saying about this movie, because so many people fall down on either side, and unfortunately you're seeing this on a lot of things, especially politically lately, is give some room to breathe. Give some room for conversation. You know, that I realize that Duncan is never going to like this movie. I'm never going to try to talk him into liking it, but what I'm always going to argue with him every time that he says it's an irredeemable dumpster fire is not everybody sees it that way.
Yeah, no.
Whether or not you like it, that's immaterial to me. But don't sell it short. This movie had a lot to say, and it had a lot going for it. Whether or not you like it, or enjoy the things that it was saying, or enjoy the characters, or enjoy what was going on, that's immaterial. It doesn't make it a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I mean, there are dumpster fires, and then there's really dumpster fires.
Oh God, yes. Oh, there are dumpster fires.
I think
Have
the
you
issue.
seen the Star Wars Holiday Special?
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
So
I think what it comes down to is that you got to let people like what they like. I can't, there's people, like you said, there's people that are into Twilight. It's never been my thing. I've watched, I think, most of the movies. I think I missed part of it, or maybe I didn't see the whole one of them. But I mean, they're okay. They're not my thing.
The DP for those movies is incredible. The coloring, the shot composition, the color scheme, the tone, the white balance, it is incredible. The movies themselves, I don't care for. I don't care for the thematic messages. I don't care for the dialogue. I don't care for the acting. I don't care for the directing. But I think it is shot beautifully.
There's a lot of like movies that are out there like that, and it's not that or even just fandoms. It's not that I think they're bad or anything. I'm not going to shit on anybody's fandom. It's just that it's not my thing. And there's certain things I don't enjoy.
Yep.
This movie was hard for me because it was a movie that, I mean, it's a franchise I do love very much. It's a beloved franchise for me for years. Obviously, if you're a Gen Xer, you grew up totally into this movie. Like, I mean, to this trilogy. I mean, well, multiple trilogies now, but it was the Grail. It was the Bible you grew up with for sci-fi and all that shit. And it was a hard pill to take when they did what they did to Luke. It was rough. And I
think that was the point too.
It might have been, but it's like it's hard for people to take that, and it's like I wrote in the blog thing. I said it was a sacrificial sheep. They made Luke out of, made him a sacrificial sheep, and that's what was hard about it. is because we took that he was such an important character. Han Solo dying was rough,
Yes,
but I think
they also earned that shit too.
Yeah, it wasn't like something you couldn't ever see happening to Han.
Yeah.
Like, you knew Han was going to get a blaster or something. He was going to kill somehow. Something was going to happen because it's the kind of guy he was. Luke, you were like, I could see him being killed by a Sith or something like that, but not just giving up.
I didn't see him giving up. I saw him elevating.
He didn't in the end. I mean, but the way his attitude was is
as far as him retreating.
Curmudgeon, hermit, but like I said,
the fact that he goes to that particular planet out of any other was pretty suspect. But a dude that's been, being tempted by the dark side of the Force literally since he learned what the Force was. You go there, it's a little suspect, my dude. But whatever.
You think he's just going down to that seaweed cave with the dark side crystal and hanging out there?
No, I think he's there basically in a Force version of self-flagellation, because in a moment of near weakness, he almost succumbed to trickery and almost succumbed to the dark side of the Force and created a Sith out of his own bloodline, and he cannot let that go. That is what I think it is. I think he chose that planet, that isolation, that mentality. I think the character that we saw is his own version of penance and self-flagellation.
It might be so, but I honestly, I think he also was like, this is going nowhere. This fight between the Jedi and Sith is going nowhere.
Oh yeah, definitely.
This is just like a repeat loop over and over again. I'm the last Jedi. I'm not training any more Jedis. This is it. I'm letting go. And like I said, like the dark side will take over for a while, but something will happen to change that.
And I also don't think it's a one or the other thing. I think that decision about this fight is going nowhere I think that revelation was brought on at least in part by not only what happened to his father, not only what happened to him, not only the rise of the Empire, but also what happened to Ben, what happened to Ben Solo, what happened to, his nephew turning into Kylo Ren, when you see that it's nothing but a vicious cycle. I think that one informs the other.
Yeah.
I think that Luke's characterization, although a tough pill to swallow, because yes, he was less lovable curmudgeon-y than Yoda was, but it was almost an interesting thing to see him retreat into hermit status like Yoda did.
Mm-hmm.
But also, what great hero does not get weathered down by time? I mean, I've already mentioned Batman and the Dark Knight series before, so let me mention it again by quoting Harvey Dent. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Right.
And in the act of nearly striking Ben Solo down, he almost became the villain and ultimately became a quasi-villain, because that's in part what gave rise to Kylo Ren. A whiny, scared little bitch boy that does not know his place in the world because he is so completely messed up.
Yeah.
A product of two legacies, a product of a general and a smuggler, heroes of the resistance. And now he's fallen into the dark side, but being tempted by the light. He doesn't know his place in the world. And the person that was supposed to teach him failed him and almost killed him. His parents sending him to Luke like that, ultimately abandoning him. It's a very interesting, very small, intimate story about character progression and character study that can go in so many different ways of interpretation. But it's difficult. It's so difficult because Luke is so beloved. But I think that's why this movie was important. But again, those are my opinions, and I could be right or I could be just talking out of my fucking ass. I don't know.
I think there's some good points there. It's just that it's like if somebody was to say like, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to write a sequel to the Bible. And guess what? Jesus, he's going to hang out with the devil and be on his side for a while or something. It's just like, and people be like, how dare you? Or Jesus, he turned out to be a homosexual or something like that. And people would lose their minds, right? So, I mean, it's just...
we do have the Dead Sea Scrolls, but let's not start talking blasphemy here.
No. My point only being is you're taking something that is, I mean, honestly, Star Wars almost become a religion into itself. fandom,
Yes.
for good or ill, and Luke Skywalker was the Jesus Christ of Star Wars, and you kind of like twisted that character into something we were not prepared for.
I get it. You heard how angry I still am about midichlorians because that changes the nature of what the religion itself is, using that metaphor. I get it. I understand. I completely understand. My only argument is maybe there's another way to interpret the text.
Yeah,
that's my only argument to it,
And I'm sure it's going to change too.
Oh, even my mind's going to change in 24 hours?
Or whatever it is, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, dude, the new movie's upon us. And remember, you were around for that, okay? What were people's perceptions of The Empire Strikes Back when it dropped? Because I went back and looked through critical reactions and fan reactions, and it wasn't good. People were upset with it.
Yeah, there was definitely some mixed emotions, but I think still at the time we were still very like in awe of what we were seeing. It was still, Star Wars was just unbelievable. Like nobody had seen anything like that. So everybody was like, you could slap, you could make it a flying peanut butter sandwich, and people would be like, "That's amazing." So
watch that. Let's be honest. It just takes. The only question is how much weed. Okay. Yeah,
exactly. But so I guess my point being is that it was hard for a lot of people, especially of my generation. I think younger generations, especially people that grew up purely on the prequels with the original like New Hope and stuff like that as like a backup, I think they had a totally different viewpoint of Luke and Han and stuff like that. So
for sure,
yeah. Anyways, it was interesting to look back at it. I have more appreciation for Last Jedi. I think it could have been a little better. It could have been tightened up a bit. Choices I didn't get, but I can roll with it.
I do not love every decision in this movie, but I do love this movie. I think this movie was genius. I do not think this movie was perfect by any stretch of the imagination.
I think I might have talked to you about this, but I can't remember. It's like when I saw Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls.
Okay.
There's a lot of it I could go through. I was fine with a lot of it, but once Shia LaBeouf started swinging on the vines with the monkeys, I was like, "Fuck it, I'm out. I can't. Yeah. I can't do it." I mean,
I hear you on that. It wasn't me that you talked with about that, but I hear you on that. To me, it's also like John McClane in like Die Hard 4.
Oh God.
Die Hard starts out, John McClane's just a regular dude that's going to the party, have a few laughs.
Right.
By Die Hard 4, he's driving a car into a helicopter.
Yeah, he's like, what? There was a semi fighting a jet airplane or something. Like that. It was,
yeah.
It was the most ridiculous.
Did he become a superhero? Okay,
I know, it was just the stupidest movie. I remember saying like, I was like, "What is this?"
Yes. How did we get there from Alan Rickman, man?
Alan Rickman. Yeah, I don't know. But it is one of those things that it's like I can I can suspend my disbelief. I can kind of go with it for a while, but every once in a while something pulls me out. And don't give me a moment where I'm pulled out like Shia LaBeouf, swing on vines with monkeys. Yeah. It's like it's just too far. It's just too far. So, there's certain things that kind of pull me out of a story, and I'm like, So, yeah. Anyways, anything else you want to say about either the Mandalorian or The Last Jedi, or anything as we are on the cusp of this new movie coming out? Red Skywalker.
I think we said enough, man. I mean, we've got a 2-hour episode upon us right now. We got a supersized episode for you guys.
Supersized
preparation.
That's right.
That's right. I don't know, man. I've been having similar conversations about The Last Jedi for the last 2 years. And The Mandalorian, I'm excited to talk about, and I'm also excited to see where it goes. This is a show that I'm excited to see how it wraps up, and I really want to have a series wrap-up analysis with you guys. Because I honestly think that'll help me formulate my thoughts about this movie. Or about this show, excuse me.
For sure.
I think Star Wars has been producing much more win than they have loss. I think that a lot of issues are unfortunately lack of meeting fandom expectations and a false sense of ownership. I think that's where a lot of these problems are. And again, I am not saying that these movies are perfect. I will gladly admit that The Force Awakens has a very close proximity plot-wise to A New Hope, but I actually think that that's part of the point.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I really think that that's part of the point, and I think that a lot of people are actually missing the subtext there by only emphasizing that, because, actually, it's partially the whole point of the piece, but that's okay. But I do think that a lot of the issues that a lot of fans, not everybody, but a lot of fans have is they expect certain things because of legends or because of their own, online 4chan and Reddit and, Tumblr fanfics and stuff like that. And when they don't get them, they're pissed.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there is something about fan expectations. Yes. It's like you don't want to meet the fan expectation totally, but you don't want to go so off the tracks that they're like, what did I just see?
Right. Duncan brought up an interesting theory about the Praetorian Guard being the Rogue One characters, and how he was saying, wouldn't that be awesome if that was the case? And I just sat there, no. Well, what do you mean? Why would that not be awesome? I don't know. I heard that rumor too, and I thought it was kind of dumb. But it would be awesome. But not in my opinion.
Right. Well,
Darth Jar Jar sounds awesome. That's a fan theory I can get behind inside and around, okay?
It's a fun theory. It's totally insane, but it would be interesting if that was actually true.
Truth. I am down for Darth Jar Jar. The Rogue One guys being reanimated and turned into like the Praetorian Guard. No, it wasn't the Praetorian Guard. It was the Knights of Ren. It was the Knights of Ren.
Okay.
No, I don't think that that's that cool, and I'm not pissed that that's not what happened at the end of Rogue One, because I didn't like the theory to begin with. Right. And I think that right there is actually kind of the point. He liked the theory. He was upset that is now stricken out. That's fine, because I've had plenty of other shows where I'm like, dude, are you serious? This is the direction they're going? This would have been far more clever. God damn it.
Yeah. Right.
I can't get mad at that. What I can get mad at is the hate campaigns that people launch on it. And again, that is where I'm pulling Duncan off that, because he's actually been on Nerdynomicon yelling at people about stop doing that. Because lots of these people are just getting so angry over the direction that things are going that they're starting to harass the real life people.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous. That's all.
Rose is a character. She's not a real person. She's a fictional character. And some of these toxic fanboys have driven her off of social media. She's getting daily death threats and rape threats and everything like that over a character.
No, that's not.
That's wrong.
Not cool in the slightest. And I would never condone that. And I don't think anybody would that I know.
No,
my feeling is that there's if something is upsetting you that much, don't watch it. Don't give it money or whatever.
Exactly.
It's just like, it's time to walk away.
Mute the TV, change the channel, look over there. There's so many options. Many options.
Like we were saying just in the beginning of the show, there's so many great TV shows and others, entertainment out there. It's like you don't have to go to. You could go to something else. You could watch Watchmen. You could watch The Boys. You could watch. There's so much to go into. So,
and I recommend them all, by the way. And I'm not bringing up Duncan, even though he's not here to like try to pick on him or single him out or anything like that. I'm bringing him up because he's a very opinionated, very well articulated person that happens to be on the counterpoint of what I'm saying and my feelings about The Last Jedi. But where we come together and where we completely agree on everything that we've ever disagreed with, which is most stuff, is that it is a work of fiction, and it is something that we enjoy. The minute you start using that to hurt people and cause a divide and start causing people to hate something, then it's when it becomes toxic. And neither of us are for that.
No,
and that is something that I love and respect the hell out of Duncan for. Because we've debated Star Wars for years. We've both gotten pissed at each other. You know what we haven't done? Gotten personal and attacked each other and ended a friendship because of it.
Yeah, and and to be fair too, not even talking about Star Wars, there's plenty of Star Trek that we shit on too. Even our beloved series, like there's Deep Space Nine episodes, which Dave loves Deep Space Nine, and there's times we've talked about an episode and go, "Oh, this is not a good episode," and we laugh about it because there's certain things that we're just like, "This is not a good episode," and it's just like there's great episodes and there's bad episodes. And
well, I would show someone who's never seen it before.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So there's plenty of those conversations. The thing is that with Dave is he is extremely critical on things that he thinks that people should be better about. And I'm most time with him in a lot of things. Like when we saw Last Jedi, I felt there was a lot of stuff with Last Jedi that could have been told and streamlined and told in a different manner that would still convey the same things, but just not do like those dead ends that we were talking about before.
Mm-hmm. And I have agreed with him on certain things too. Like the Canto Bight thing, I've always said, yeah, it's campy. Star Wars has always been campy. Yeah, it was a bit long. Yeah, that it's not a perfect movie. I don't see it as a dumpster fire, and that's where he and I will debate. You know what I mean? But yeah, I totally agree.
Well, I believe, and I could be wrong, but 20 years from now, we'll still be debating The Last Jedi.
I hope we are.
I think it's one of those movies. I think it's one of those movies that have just kiss people on different sides and anger them and entice them, and it's one of those things that it just makes people either crazy on either way. Either you're in love or you hate it.
I like the word challenge for this movie. I hope that this movie still does challenge us in 20 years.
Yeah,
because then I think that Rian Johnson has done his job.
I'll say he's done a job. I don't know if that was the job that they was originally given, because I don't think they liked that what he did. I think they liked it, but I think they didn't like what the fallout. The fallout.
The fallout. Yeah, definitely. Because the fallout is horrible.
They did not want, and I'm not talking about the toxic shit. That's obviously ridiculous. But it's just the people are so divided on that movie, and Disney does not want a divided fan base. They want a unified fan base, buying their, seeing their movies, buying the merchandise and whatever else that comes along with it. That's what they want. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
They've got the theme park going up right now. You know that they want that unified people. They want to be like, fuck Hogwarts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
So you have to be careful. It is a hard thing. It's like, you want to challenge expectations, but you don't want to challenge it so hard that you've just alienated, a good 50% or so of your audience. So
I agree with you on that. I think that this movie was challenging and divisive on purpose. I think that this movie had, and even you have admitted, there's a lot more there than you originally thought.
I agree. But I think there is some validity to this movie. I just wish things were just a little different. Tweaked.
Yes.
I wish it was tweaked.
I will agree with you with that as well. I mean, there's an episode that I want to do on Nerdynomicon that I'd love to have you on about my feelings leading up to episode 9, and then ultimately what my feelings are leaving episode 9, because this movie has become a game changer for Star Wars in a way that I think that The Mandalorian is helping to repair.
Yes, The Mandalorian is very much weaving,
it's Dreamweaver for us.
Yes, it is. It's just putting everything back together. So, Robbie, like you said, this is going on to a very long episode, so let's cut it off here before we have to.
Because it seemed like 20 minutes ago, I was trying to say, I think we've said it all. I think we should get out of here. 20 minutes later, we're still talking. So,
So real quickly, everyone, if you have thoughts about The Last Jedi or about The Mandalorian or even some of the news that we talked about, Michael Chabon and all the interesting news coming out of Star Trek, you can either email us at synthaholics@yahoo.com. You can tweet at us at synthaholicduo. On Twitter. You can also go to our Facebook page, Facebook/groups/Synthaholics, and you can join the group there and just talk to us there. We have plenty of posts that we always talk about crazy shit all the time. And if this show is something of value to you and you feel like you want to throw us a couple bucks, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Synthaholics, and help support the show there. And as well, just as I say, share the show on social media with your friends. Just let people know that Synthaholics is a podcast and might be worth their time downloading and listening. Robbie, how about yourself? Give them all your information for Nerdynomicon.
You can find us just by finding Nerdynomicon. Just go to Google and text it in right there, man. YouTube.com/Nerdynomicon. I've got a weekly show there called The Weekly Wake Up with Nerdynomicon, where I give you guys different reasons to celebrate every single day of the week. I've got Sinful Analysis up there, which, yes, I realize is misspelled. There's a subtext to the name of the show itself. It's kind of a hat on a hat there, but that's where I dive deep in hopefully fun, entertaining, and hopefully unique ways for movies that I personally love and think that there's reasons to talk about them. You can check me out on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter at Nerdynomicon. I'm really funny. At least my mom says so.
My mom says so. Yes, you are. You are funny.
And obviously the Nerdynomicon podcast, which I do with Adrian and Steve. We've been on hiatus here for a little while. Adrian got a job on the other side of the country with a little company. It's a family-run boutique shop called Netflix. So he's been extremely busy. And I just had a young daughter, and I've contracted the plague, so we've been on a bit of a hiatus, but we are coming back. The podcast is not over, despite what other
shit happens.
It does.
Yeah.
Despite what other people have been trying to circulate, the podcast has not died. We will rise from the ashes. Nerdynomicon, man, it's there in the title. The Nomicon. We will rise from the dead.
You will. And we'll put all the information on our show notes so you can find Robbie as well. Robbie, again, thank you always for coming on to our show and talking Star Wars. I really enjoy our conversations. I hope we can talk some more about Star Wars and some of the other things that we talked about as well.
Oh, dude, there's so much to discuss. I've got to have you on the Nomicon, man. As much as I want to keep talking about Star Wars, because I feel like it's important right now with Episode 9 starting up in a couple of days, you mentioned Watchmen, and I can't get it out of my head. We need to have a conversation. You also being a comic book guy, we have some conversations to have about the comic, movie, and show, because it's deep. Yeah, it's very deep. It's significant, and frankly, I think it's one of the most topical shows, comics and movies, that is out there to be consumed today.
Absolutely, and you set that up, and whenever you're ready, and we will definitely do that. I'm on board.
Let's do it. All right, sounds good.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for downloading and listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. Next week, we will get to the new Star Wars movie, The Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars. Until then, live long and prosper, one and all.